As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 100 of Zero to Hero, presented by J29 Creative Group. Man, what a journey. 100 episodes, obviously a huge accomplishment on our side, and with the 100th one, we are not cutting any corners. We are bringing a fantastic guest to you today. He is the owner of Love Coffee out of Lee Summit. He's also the owner of Martin City Brewing Company. His name is Matt Moore, so let's go ahead and bring him in. Matt, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Gino?
Oh, doing fantastic. Thank you for joining us for episode 100 and giving us your time here today. So before we get into it, man, for anybody out there that maybe hasn't heard of Martin City Brewing, what is Martin City Brewing and what is Love Coffee?
Martin City Brewery is a Kansas City-based local brewery with an offshoot of restaurants that operate underneath it. That the majority is our pizza and tap room locations. And my wife and I opened a coffee shop a few years ago and have doubled down on that. And we've gotten into roasting, but anyway, that's the nuts and the bolts of it.
100%.
2 employees to 200. So here we are.
I love it. Yeah, quite a journey for sure. So Martin City obviously started over a decade ago now, 2012.
2011, yeah.
2011. Wow. So what a journey. So talk a little bit about, what it was that made you want to get out there and open up the brewery.
So my business partner Chance and I, we were home brewing. We were sailors out on Lake Jacomo. For anybody near Kansas City, go yacht club. And we started home brewing with Larry Ballou, one of the sailors out there, and it just became a real pastime and socializing time with us. And next thing you know, we're looking at this property down here in Martin City, and I had a landscaping company at the time, and I was gonna I purchased it and was gonna put my landscaping company in there kind of as a storefront. It was running out of my house south of town, and we had been, Chance and I to this day can't figure out who mentioned it, but it was like, maybe we should take the home brewing and open a microbrewery in Kansas City at the time, other than Boulevard and Free State. I mean, there were some good ones, but there just wasn't a lot. Now there's 50 plus, but so that was kind of the genesis behind it, and we spent all our money, nights and weekends, kind of fabricating the old pub into what we would hope would be a microbrewery. And it opened as a great craft beer bar with exceptional food. And we kind of used that as a springboard to raise funds that we needed to get the brewery built. And it happened that 2 years later, the guys next door who said they'd never sell the place put it for sale. And we kind of figured out how to construct a brewery in that little postage stamp, good, bad, or otherwise. But that's how it happened. That's how it arrived.
Absolutely. And obviously doing fantastic, like you mentioned, from 2 employees to 200, right? Just over a decade, which is absolutely phenomenal. Some fantastic beers that you're producing as well. It's not just, a small company that's putting out crap beer, right? I mean, these are fantastic beers that are coming out of Martin City for sure. And obviously, like you mentioned, the food is exceptional as well, to say the least. Some good pizza and everything like that when you get down to those tap rooms. So absolutely love it. Love Coffee. How did that come about?
Well, that was just by, it was a logistical chance. We had been working with Ben Farmer, who owns Alchemist out of Alchemy, out of Lawrence, Kansas. He was roasting his coffee and had a coffee shop now, I think, too, in Lawrence. And he's an exceptional guy, great family. And we were canning his coffee at the time. So, and I love coffee. So it was one of those things, you know, I was picking his brain, and our kids were going to school down here in Martin City, and everybody at school was like, just because we had the restaurants and the brewery, they're like, somebody needs to open up a coffee shop in Martin City. Well, another close friend now, Rick Ramsey, ended up opening a coffee shop in Martin City. He was our plumber that helped do a lot of stuff at the brewery. And I'm like, all right, this is great. Like, you know, I've gone down the road, but somebody else is going to do it. I don't have to worry about it. Well, this little kiosk, it's like a Scooters, a little bigger than a Scooters type kiosk, was in the shopping center in front of our neighborhood in, you know, Raintree and Lee Summit. And one day I made the mistake of calling on it, and I thought the rent was, you know, reasonable. You know, it sat vacant for a while as a dry cleaners and stuff. It was a coffee shop when it was built. And so I knew, you know, it had the infrastructure for that. And next thing you know, I'm talking to my wife, and then the good friend that sells us health insurance, it was like my wife's second parents growing up. He said, man, my wife would love to do this with you if you want to do it. So anyway, we got into coffee. That was 5-6 years ago. Yeah, they just had their 6-year anniversary. So and then we kind of complemented one of our newer Martin City locations near Lake Lotawana, and coupled them together. So out there, you can, you know, we're open from 6 to midnight, but
Go from coffee
yeah,
straight to beer.
It's
Perfect.
you know, just as somebody thinks they have us pinned down, I'm going to confuse them. So
I love it. It sounds like being, you know, surrounding yourself with great people is what kind of birthed both of these businesses. Am I hearing that right?
without a doubt, my wife being the
it.
greatest of them, but yeah, I mean, Rob, our initial employee, is still with us 13 years later. He's our beer salesman on the streets. He also roasts coffee for us and helps bake for the bake shop. Grant has been here since just after day one. And yeah, it's been, I mean, it's, I couldn't do any of this without the people that are doing it with us.
I love it. I love it. Well, obviously, you guys are on the doorstep of Kansas City as well, being there in the airport. You guys are obviously all over the airport, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Just flew through there last week, and I was like, "There's Matt's place." I love it. So, representing the city well, we definitely appreciate it for sure, and can't wait to see how many new fans you get over the next couple of years coming through that spot as well. Absolutely. Well, let's get into the meat of it here, Matt. So I'm going to ask you to put the brewery aside. I'm going to ask you to put the coffee aside, all your ventures aside. Who is Matt Moore? Give us
Gino,
the elevator.
don't make me cry. Don't make me cry, Gino.
I'll do my best.
Who is Matt Moore? You know, tired, old, and confused. I don't, you know, you know, I grew up around here. I was, you know, I played soccer. I grew up in the restaurant business. My family owns RC's and Jess and Jim's adjacent to the brewery. One has since been sold, but all of my family lived in Kansas City. So I grew up around 13 cousins on one side and I think 12 on the other. So weekends and holidays and all that were spent. You know, my brother and sister, mom and dad were, you know, as close to me as anything. So I was real blessed to have a real tight knit family and upbringing. Went away to KU, made bad decisions, came back and went to UMKC to finish, got an accounting degree. It's kind of I thought it was the quickest way out at the time. I had the lawn mowing company turned landscaping company that I previously spoke about, and did that for, I mean, that's the guy my wife married in 2010. It's funny, in just, you know, 13 years, how my identity is completely different. But, you know, did that, worked outdoors, got winters off and traveled. The minute we bought the building over here and started redoing it, like, you know, I got Kara pregnant, and anyway, we now have 4 kids, 11 to 3, and I am coach to anything they'll let me be coach of. That, you know, the 2 middles play soccer. My oldest, she's volleyball, and you know, I'm at all the games. I don't coach her in volleyball, but I would. And then we got, you know, the 3-year-old coming up. You know, Easton has basketball tryouts this tonight, and you know, I try to be dad and you know, good husband.
Incredible. That's a hard range, man. I've got 2 myself, a 6 and a 3-year-old, and my hands are full,
Oh,
so I
you're
can't
in
imagine.
it. So you're in it.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
imagine having a couple older ones there as well. That's man, your hands must be absolutely full on top of everything with the business.
Yeah, no, it's been a treat. I learned multitasking very early on
Yeah.
in my entrepreneurial career, and I think that is probably the skill that has done the most for me.
Yeah.
Is to just and I'm not saying I'm regimented by any stretch, but you know, being able to do 15 things at once or through the course of a day, you know, it helps get stuff done. So, you know, you task until you go crazy, and then you hand some off to other people or let others go.
Absolutely. Well, when you started the companies, obviously Martin City 2011 and then Love Coffee a few years back, we had a social media, right? Obviously, we had to start that up, got to get everything going. You started with 0 followers, 0 likes, you know, 0 everything, right? So talk a little bit about
Gino,
that journey.
I appreciate that.
Everybody does.
I
You can't
wasn't
start
prom
with
king
followers.
or the quarterback. I was just a short asshole.
with great beer, which obviously you're getting invited to the parties.
yeah, nobody forgets to invite me now. No,
I
you're
love
all
it.
good.
Yeah, talk about that journey about, you know, starting from 0 to where you're at now. Obviously, you guys have a great social media presence. So, how's
Well,
it
that's
been
good
for
to
you?
hear. Well, in the last 3 years, it's been handed off to Lynn, who is our creative director, and she does an exceptional job. You know, it was when Chance and I opened it, not that, I mean, Facebook wasn't new at the time, but we had, I mean, every nickel we had was put into the restaurant. So there was absolutely no marketing to spend. And it was one of those things we had spent a lot of, if not all of our retirement, not to mention, and I was now having you know, an infant. It just, we didn't, I mean, we had day jobs, and we always did. I mean, I didn't sell the landscaping company until the 2nd year of the brewery. So that was about 4 years later. I'd show up in the trucks, and anyway, that's it. But we had to find a way to get to the people. And, you know, it wasn't new, but it was, you could still, you know, the algorithms weren't so screwed up. Like, you could still attract attention without paying for it.
Yeah.
I know now it really doesn't matter what you do. You can't get attention unless you pay for it. So we were really blessed that back in 11, 12, 13, we could, you know, I could tweet something stupid and it would get, you know, it would get some exposure. And we could Facebook something funny or different and it would get exposure, which just led. And it was also about the time where, you know, we're in South Kansas City, you know, right. I mean, on the doorstep of Johnson County, everybody was kind of moving a little away from like your big box, your Chili's and Applebee's, and you know, just suburbia was kind of moving back towards that, you know, the burgeoning of the crossroads and downtown, and Westport was, so everybody was going to these very unique places to eat and drink that, I mean, you really couldn't build out. I mean, you know, we're built on outside part of town, so everything's pretty new, except Martin City is this little, you know, corner of, it was an old town once. And so by product of the, I call it a shit box all the time, but that terrible building that we began in, that I love as much as I love my wife, It was just really unique. And the food was great. I mean, the food was exceptional. The guys, Rob and Andrew and Tony, and I mean, it was so good and so odd that, I mean, we just had a real following almost from the get-go. And I remember it was about the whole first year. It sounds so funny now, but the exhaust fan barely worked. Like, it didn't work at all in the kitchen. So when you went in there, you would go home and these restaurants, we were the worst. It's tight, it's small, and you'd go home and you just reek of the food, of burgers or fry grease or whatever. And people would say, like, it's so good, but God, like, you got to take a shower when you get home. And I remember hearing that for so long. Well, eventually we had enough money to think about fixing it or figuring it out. And the exhaust fan blew backwards for the entire first year. It was blowing everything back in. It wasn't sucking it out. So anyway, I mean, that's how, I mean, you're dealing with complete imbeciles that started this thing back then. But we were super humble and apologetic. Every mistake we made, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. How can we fix it? We won't charge you. I'd throw the kitchen sink at you. And I think enough people saw the try in our eyes that it worked for us. I would not say it's the perfect recipe for opening anything today. But it did work, and it worked very well for us 13 years ago. So I don't know.
I love it.
I don't even remember the question.
No, I love it. And it's a common theme. Obviously, we have a ton of entrepreneurs that come on the show. And I heard one, I don't even remember what episode it was or how long ago it was, but he said, if you start something and it's perfect right when you started it, you waited too long. I think it was Mitch Case with More Than a Meal, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Mitch
is a great guy.
But what great advice, right? I mean, it was so profound when he said it too. I was like, man, you're right. If you're starting something and you're already doing it perfect, you definitely waited way too long to get it started. It's obviously Martin City.
I'm going to have to go to Cozy Cafe tomorrow to see him. That's where he has all his meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you catch him. Friday morning he'll be at Hy-Vee Arena.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's his other. Yeah. Yep.
That's where he'll be tomorrow. You got to get out there early, though. I'm sorry, Mitch. I haven't made it. It's too early for me.
I take the kids to school, and man, if it was 5 minutes from my house, I'd be there. But it's a ways from Lee Summit.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a little bit of a haul over there. But no, I love that. I mean, obviously social media is a way that we can really engage with a community, right, and build that community. But when you're authentic, right, and you're trying, and people can see that, right, that's also what can lead people to that social media to drop that drop the share, drop the follow, right, throw a recommendation on there, right. So I appreciate you bringing that back around. Now, Matt, every superhero has a defining moment. What do you think yours is when it comes to your life and your career?
You couldn't have given any prep questions, huh? Defining moment. Well, I'd have to, I say it quite a bit, but Trevor, an old friend from high school, he was an early adopter and fan early on, and he and his wife would come down here and they'd bring their small child. And he had this idea of expanding. A pizza place at Mission Farms went out of business, and he's like, dude, you guys had crushed it over here. And I was done. I mean, I had no interest in expanding at all. I mean, we were getting mostly out of debt or getting out of debt. And anyway, it was one of those things. We figured out how to strike a partnership with it. And now he's a partner in the business. But that kind of led to, okay, I can't, I was still trying to do all of it. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't really doing any of it, but now that, we've got 7 locations operating right now, including the airport, and I am not doing any of it. It was kind of that moment where we got outside my comfort zone. We we opened this little thing in, almost the heart of Leawood, that I wasn't confident would translate. I knew why we succeeded in Martin City, but it's like, man, you go right in the heart of Leawood. I mean, you got a lot of options. And so that really stretched me and expanded what we've turned the brand into since then. So it was, if it wasn't the defining moment, it was a defining moment for sure. And I thank Trevor all the time for it. And it was his birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday, Trevor. That's fantastic. It changed the direction of where Martin City Brewing was going. It sounds
And he'll
like
never see this because he doesn't spend 2 seconds on social media ever, but I'll make sure he knows that he was mentioned.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can check it out there. He doesn't have to get on the social media.
His son will
I guess
show
that's technically social media. No, that's fantastic. I mean, taking that leap of faith, right, outside the comfort zone. I absolutely love that. It has to be one of the defining moments, right? Because it sounds like that would have been kind of where we stopped with growth.
Yeah,
If it weren't for Trevor coming up with that idea. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And putting your trust in people too. That's huge. Now, Matt, villains have attributes as well as heroes. What do you think are the attributes that really define what a hero is?
Character, but I know that's a broad swath, perseverance,
Yeah,
honesty, hard work, grit. I mean, without a doubt, grit, gumption, and being a lifelong learner.
yeah.
I really try to learn more today than I knew yesterday. That way tomorrow I'm better than I am today. And I try to preach that to the staff and the leadership team and all the managing partners. I don't, some days we roll out of bed on the wrong side and it's a bad day, but there's something to be learned there. There's something that's happening with that. So, have your wits about you at all the time.
Absolutely. Sometimes those bad days are the days that we can learn the most. I've
For
found
sure.
throughout my
No
life.
doubt.
That's the bad times are definitely where those learning moments come in. Now, Matt, if you had to pick any superhero out there that best relates to Matthew Moore, who would that be? And tell us a couple reasons why.
So when you asked me that, I was just like, well, let's go with Superman. That's.
Yeah.
But then as the intro was happening, Bat Dad.
Yeah.
Bat who? Bat Dad.
Yeah, I know Bat
the
Dad a little
YouTube
bit.
sensation
Yeah.
that has made me, laugh my ass off for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
I love that guy. And I love that the way some of your people are gonna be like, Bat Dad. What?
No, I love it.
Maybe he'll get a little thick up these days, but his dad that just had so much fun with his wife and his kids. And, obviously, you know who I'm talking about, Gino?
Yeah, I don't know how much fun the wife was having, but he was definitely.
Well, fair enough. Yeah.
He was definitely having a blast.
The other day, you're getting you're getting ice out of the fridge and it hit the floor, and we usually call the dog, but my kid's sitting there, kick it under the fridge, kick it under the fridge. I just can't. I always see him. Well, kick it under the fridge. Anyway, yeah. So Bat Dad, that's good.
That's hilarious.
No real superpowers. Trying to make people have fun.
Have you now that you bring up Bat Dad, have you seen the Michael Myers guy from Decatur that just every Halloween now, I think for the last 3 or 4 years, he's dressed up as Michael Myers and he'll just go stand around Decatur. I don't know which Decatur it is, but he'll just stand around. Oh man, yeah, you'll have to look that up.
Is it funny?
Oh, it's hilarious. Well,
okay.
So he's out just standing around randomly, and then the wife will go out and find him, and she's like, "What are you doing? Get in the car!"
That's great.
But now his son is in on it as well. So his son's walking around with a little Michael Myers mask and a knife right with him. It's
hilarious.
It's gold. It's pure gold. That's the great thing about social media. It's not all, sell. There's fun stuff that's out there as well. But yeah, Bat Dad, man, that is. Thank you for bringing the most unique answer that we've had in all 100 episodes on the last one. I love that. Man, yeah. What happened to him? Is he still making content? I feel like he got tired of it.
Because of that kicking under the fridge, the ice thing the other day, I brought it up to my cousin. We share, you're on threads where you're sharing funny stuff all the time. And he had never, for his YouTube and social media savvy, he had never even heard of Bat Dad. So I went back and I did like a 5-10 minute dive a few nights ago. And what he was making, the chart now goes like it's, I think after they got divorced, I don't know, maybe it wasn't funny anymore. But yeah,
well,
yeah,
I might joke about his wife not liking it.
Yeah, I think they got divorced.
I didn't know
she
that.
had enough. What was it, Jen?
Oh man,
anyway,
Jen.
But yeah, I mean, anyway, so I was supposed to send him some clips, and I rewatched them. And I'm like, I don't know, Dave. Like, this was like a time and place. I'm not sure how funny it is anymore. Like, I watched some, and I laughed, but I was like, I think he's gonna just watch and be like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
But
so you had to be there at the time on the platform.
Right. That was pre-pandemic funny.
Yeah. You know what?
Nothing's funny anymore.
Oh man, yeah, he must have drove her crazy during the pandemic. God bless her. But that's funny. Well, Matt, thank you for coming on, man. You've been a fantastic guest. We've had a lot of laughs. I appreciate that for sure. I appreciate you sharing your time. How can people keep up with Martin City? How can they get a hold of you guys? How can they follow with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, anytime, Gino, and I appreciate you having me on. They can get it, martincitybrewingcompany.com or the MC Beer Club at mcbeerclub.com. It's our website, and keep up with us, on Facebook. And I think we are going to start venturing into, they can keep up with me on LinkedIn. Martin City's not real active on LinkedIn, I don't think, but I do think we're going to start back into Twitter, and I don't know, try to explore all the had a meeting this morning that I think that's a road we're going to start to go down. So I don't know, but definitely the websites.
Yeah, X as it's called now. I don't know that that's ever going to catch on, or if people are just going to forever call that Twitter, or what's going to happen there. But interested to see that. Interested to see what kind of content you guys come out with on that as well. Man, thank you again for coming on the show, and thanks to everybody out there that tunes in for this.
Absolutely. Again, thanks for having us, Gino.
Hey, are we still live? Hey guys, we're still live. Hey guys, this is Kevin Kwok, founder of J29 Creative Group. So who are we? We're a marketing agency here in Kansas City. We're all about a holistic approach to marketing that builds your brand and nurtures online community. But to be honest with you, you guys don't care.